Feminized Podcast, just a man doing the best he can with what he got. And as we get closer to the Tennessee governor's race, I'm going to examine candidates on both the Republican and Democrat sides. And today, we're looking at the Republican candidate, Monty Fritts, a 63-year-old state representative from East Tennessee. Now, let me tell you guys, man, I'm going to be doing this for every candidate that's running for governor of Tennessee. And let me give you a little insight on how I vote. I am an independent. I vote my interest, and I suggest you do too. I don't just vote for a candidate because they have a D or R beside their name. I vote my interest. Which candidate will make my life better? Who will help working people keep more money? Like, who will improve healthcare, education, infrastructures, and jobs? And most importantly, who can mind their own damn business and stay out of people's personal lives? Now, Monty Fritts' campaign slogan is liberty and less government. That sounds good. But when you read his platform and listen to what he says, the problem is that less government apparently means less government for people who believe and live like Monty Fritts. Now, for everybody else, man, he wants the government all up in your religions, your bedroom, your pregnancy, and your voting booth. Yeah. I mean, if you believe in what Monty Fritts believes, you're good. But if you don't agree with Monty Fritts believes, then oh yeah, government all in your business. Now let's start with his 10-point plan. Number one is citizens retain more money. He wants government budgets limited to core government functions and wants to eliminate Tennessee's 4% grocery tax. Now, I actually like eliminated grocery tax. Food is something everybody needs. And removing the tax would help working families, but what exactly are core government functions? Are public schools core? Healthcare? Roads? Environmental protections? Access for struggling families? Like, what are core functions? Like, you cannot campaign for governor using vague phrases and expect us to fill in the blanks. Or maybe that's what you want us to do. Like, tell us what you're cutting and how you're going to replace the grocery tax revenue. Otherwise, it's a slogan, man. It's not complete policy. Number two, citizens over government, and declares the Second Amendment rights are absolute. Now, I strongly support the Second Amendment, but virtually no constitutional right is absolute. So when you tell me something's absolute, I get a little squirmish, man. Like, nobody should work in absolute. The only people who works in absolutes are Sith Lords and idiots. And I don't see no lightsaber in Monty Fritts' hand, so I gotta assume he's an idiot. Even the Supreme Court has recognized limits involving who may possess weapons and where the weapons are carried. Short-sighted, in my opinion. Tennessee also lived through, the Covenant school shooting in Nashville, where 3 children and 3 adults were murdered. If your position is that gun rights are absolute, voters deserve to know whether that means no background checks, no restrictions for violent offenders, and no intervention when somebody is an obvious danger. Like, what do you mean? And if constitutional rights are absolute, Monty, keep that same energy for voting rights and religious freedoms. Keep that in mind. Put a pin in that. Number 3 is save education and respect parents. Now, he says parents should be the first and final voice in their children's education. Parents should absolutely have a voice, but public education also exists to teach children verified facts, including facts their parents may not personally like. He also wants to preserve Tennessee's values and traditions. And when you say values and traditions, which values and traditions are you talking about? Like, seriously, which one? The KKK was founded in Pulaski, Tennessee. Segregation was a Tennessee tradition. Preventing women and black people from voting was once defended as tradition. Tradition by itself is not a virtue. Like, some traditions deserve to be preserved. Other traditions deserve to be put away and die. Like, you don't want to repeat a lot of traditions. So he says schools should put reading, writing, math, and civics ahead of ideology. I can support that, but real civics would teach students that religious freedoms apply to Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists, just like they apply to Christians, right? And number 4 on Monty Fritts' list on his own website, it talks about clean soil, air, water, and food, and I agree with that. But then he moves to geoengineering, weather modification, and fake meat scams. And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about now? Like, you're losing me. Like, weather modification is a real category that includes practices such as cloud seeding. In fact, Tennessee already passed a law in 2024 prohibiting the intentional release of substance into the atmosphere for weather modification. So why did you know that? And why are you still running on something that's already passed? So like, what's the new problem is Fritts proposing to solve? And I think that's another thing these folks do. Like, stuff is already passed, it sounds good, and they rerun on it. I'm like, buddy, you already passed a law prohibiting that. So you're trying to fix a problem that already been fixed. And I have a problem with that. And what is a fake meat scam? If a private company produces plant-based meat and consumers choose to buy it, isn't that the capitalism Republicans claim to support? Like, if you can require honest labeling and food safety testing without portraying somebody's veggie burger as a globalist plot, right? And number 5 on Monty's list is stronger Tennessee elections. He supports no ID, no vote. Here's the first fact check. Tennessee already requires approved federal or Tennessee photo identification when voting in person. His proposal is not new. Once again, it's a problem that already been fixed, but you're running on that same problem again. Now, voter fraud should absolutely be prosecuted. I truly believe that, but available evidence shows prosecution in Tennessee are rare. No evidence of some widespread operation of change in statewide election results exists. Once again, this is not really a problem. And I'm all for securing the elections, man, but also while you're doing that, you got to give me a way you're going to make it easier for legal Tennesseans to vote, right? When it comes to election security, it's always about making it harder and never about giving any convenience to the legal voter. If voter ID is your priority, where's your plan to make acceptable identification free, easily accessible, and available through mobile offices? Where is your plan for transportation, extending voting hours, or time off for working people? If we had an election holiday, that would be awesome. That would eliminate any excuse for anybody not to vote if everybody had a day off to go vote. Like, election security should protect legitimate voters while helping every eligible citizen participate. Fritts is discussing restrictions, but he's not talking about access, and that's a problem for me. Like, number 6 is no incentives for illegals. Now, first, people are not illegals. Actions can be illegal. Immigration status can be unlawful. The more accurate term is undocumented immigrants. When you say illegals, I think about all these assholes that are defiling the Constitution and not living up to the high ideas of America. You're illegal, my G. Secondly, undocumented immigrants are already generally barred from major federal benefits such as SNAP. And this is one of those things, if you want to root out fraud in SNAP, I'm totally okay with that. But you got to give me your criteria. Like, when is the problem fixed? If you're telling me all these undocumented people are getting government benefits, your fix for that shouldn't be, okay, get rid of government benefits. Nobody can have it now. If that's the case, you're not really against fraud. You're against those government benefits. You know what I'm saying? And no, it's not like a universally true thing that a person without a social security number cannot purchase a car and a house. They can. I've seen people like purchase fake social security number. Well, I'm sorry, I haven't seen that, but I've heard from my friends that there is a place where you can purchase fake social security numbers and IDs. Yes, you need to lock down on that and secure that. That is something we absolutely should do. But if Fritts is serious about unauthorized employment, like, where is the punishment for businesses that knowingly hire and exploit undocumented workers. Like his platforms talk about workers, but says nothing specific about the employers creating the demand, right? Tennessee does a lot of farming. What's the punishment if a farm hires an undocumented worker? I need to see that in your platform as well. Like that tells me that the workers are the political target, while the people profiting from the labor are left alone. And that can't be the standard. Like number 7 is protecting innocent life. He says every life is sacred from conception forward and promises to use the full authority of the state to defend the unborn. This would be a disaster. That is not less government. That is an enormous government power and overreach placed inside of the most private medical decision a woman and her doctor can face. Not less government there, buddy. What happens when pregnancy threatens the mother's life? Like what happens after a miscarriage? Who investigates it? Like what medical record does the government obtain? Like how close to death must a woman be before the doctor is allowed to add? These are all decisions I don't think the government should make. If I am, God forbid I'm ever in this situation, and I gotta choose between the life of my wife and my unborn kid, whatever I decide should not be the government's goddamn business. Like how do I make that impossible decision between this unborn soul I never met and the woman I chose to build a life with? And some of y'all are gonna say, oh man, those complications are rare. Are they though? Look at the numbers, especially for black women. Complications are very, very high. And if the state forces somebody to continue a pregnancy, then the state should be prepared to help provide health care, child care, food, housing, and education, right? The funny thing about this world is, and especially when you look at red states like Tennessee, they will require you to have a baby, but won't give you any guaranteed help for when the baby is here. Like, if you're gonna outlaw abortion and you're gonna say that every fetus has human rights, I need a plan from 0 to 18 on how we're gonna take care of this kid. Now, his plan says government should support families who choose life, quote, choose life. But if the government has eliminated every other options, that's not a choice. You're forcing me to choose life. And if every life is sacred and the government must reject policies that treat life as disposable, I want to know his position on Tennessee's death penalty. Like, you cannot argue that the state must protect every life while simultaneously granting it the authority to deliberately take life. That's what we call a contradiction in the business, right? Number 8 and 9 concerns property rights, infrastructure, and public spending. And those are some good ideas. Like, he says people should not lose homes based solely on property taxes and delinquent property tax. I'm sympathetic to that, particularly for elderly and low-income homeowners. Like, he supports maintaining energy, water, waste, roads, and emergency services. Totally with him on that. Those are reasonable ideas. Like, give the man credit where credit is due. But Tennessee has one of America's largest personal bankruptcy filing rates, like ranking among 3rd per capita in recent data. That's right, we're number 3. The most bankruptcies are filed by individuals, not corporations. Like, where is the serious plan for medical debt, affordable housing, wages, consumer protections, and financial insecurity? Tennessee counted approximately 8,280 homeless residents on one night in 2024, while the state has roughly 1,300 Christian congregations. I want y'all to sit on that for a second. They counted more churches than homeless people in Tennessee. If Christians were living up to their values of Christianity, homelessness should not be a problem in Tennessee with those numbers. Where is homelessness in this plan? Where's the health care? Where is affordable housing? Where is the detailed strategy for bringing better paying jobs to struggling parts of Tennessee? Can Bucksnort, Tennessee get more jobs? Instead, we get vague language about globalists, fake meat, and causes that work against the public. But if I'm being honest, man, the man's biggest disqualification is his position on religious freedoms. Like Monty Fritts has said that he wants to ban mosques and other non-Christian religions. When challenged, he said this.
You have said we have a Muslim problem in Tennessee,
yes, sir.
And you want to ban mosques.
Yes.
You just mentioned the Constitution.
Yes.
So how is banning mosques constitutional?
Yeah, so as a Christian, I think that there is no answer other than that, right? Because I think Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and no man cometh to the Father except by him. That's what Christ said.
Bruh, we are electing a governor, not a pastor. He went on to claim Islam is not simply a religion, but a political movement. And he argued that the First Amendment restricts only Congress, not Tennessee. And that is constitutionally wrong. It is so damn wrong to the point I'm asking, hey, if you don't know this fact, why are you running for governor? Federal law trumps state law. How can a whole federal constitutional amendment not be applied to Tennessee? How? How, Sway? Seriously, the 14th Amendment applies the First Amendment's religious protections to state and local government. A quick Google search will verify what I'm saying. Federal courts, including the Sixth Circuit, the federal court that applies to Tennessee, has repeatedly recognized that both the Establishment Clause and Free Exercise Clause applies to states. Even worse for Fritz, Article 1, Section 3 of the Tennessee Constitution says all people have an indefensible right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their own consensus, and that no preference shall be given by law to any religious establishment or mode of worship. What that simply means in everyday terms, worship how you want to worship. We're going to stay the hell out your business, dog. The very section he cites destroys his argument. Government can prosecute crimes committed by an individual, Muslim, Christian, atheist, or otherwise. I don't care. Prosecute them folks. It cannot ban an entire religion or its house of worship because the governor believes those people are going to hell. And that's that man's position. I want to stop everybody from going to hell, so I got to ban everything. Bruh, that's not your choice. If I choose to go to hell, let me go to hell. And honestly, you can go with me. And Fritz' reasoning should scare Christians too. Like once government gets the power to determine which religions are legitimate, a future governor can decide that like your denomination is the dangerous one. What's next? Do we ban the Mormons because they believe Jesus is 6'2" and live on Kolob, right? Do we ban the Church of God in Christ? What's next? Where do we draw the line? Today is Muslims, but tomorrow it could be Catholics, Baptists, Mormons, or Christians altogether. That is precisely why religious freedoms cannot depend on the governor's personal theology. Like Monty Fritts says he believes God called him to run. He didn't tell me that. If God called you, man, he need to call me and confirm that, buddy. He has every right to believe that God did that. But a personal calling is not a public policy qualification, man. Tennessee is electing a governor, not a pastor. So you believe God told you to run? Yeah, I need God to tell me that. My final verdict. Monty Fritts has a few ideas worth discussing, like seriously, including eliminating the grocery tax and protecting homeowners and auditing government spending. I can rock with Monty on that. But his overall platform is vague where Tennessee needs details, right? And it's dangerously specific where government needs restraint. I mean, he talks about constitutional rights while like misunderstanding what the Constitution is and how it applies to states. Like he talks about less government while demanding more state control over religions and pregnancy and voting. That's not less government. Are y'all get what I'm saying? Like that's Christian nationalism, not religious freedom. It's like you got the right to be a Christian. If you're not, man, we're gonna put the whole hammer of the government on you. America does not promise freedom only to Christians. It promises the government will not decide which faith citizens are permitted to practice. For that reason, Monty Fritts is unfit to be governor of Tennessee. I know the primaries are coming up soon, and my question is, why are you even running? Sir, you may need to rethink what you're running for, because we're trying to elect a governor, not the head pastor of Tennessee. Hey man, I'm a college graduate and I want to take some time out to talk about this Tuskegee University dress code for a hot second and what I think about it. Now, Tuskegee University, an HBCU in Alabama, recently announced a policy requiring students to arrive with at least one business suit and appropriate dress shoes for professional events. Now, the policy also prohibits bonnets, do-rags, bedroom slippers, and revealing clothing in academic and official settings. Now, before anyone says I'm against professionalism, let me stop you right there. I'm not. Professionalism matters. And knowing how to interview also matters. But I think you're putting the cart before the horse here, and let me explain why. Like, my first problem is the financial burden. A lot of freshmen are 18 and 19 years old, and some are the first in their families to attend college. You know, a decent suit, dress shoes, belt, tie, and alterations can easily cost a few $100s. Easily. I'm talking about, I'm lowballing when I say that. And that's before tuition, books, housing, and food. You are putting a financial burden on freshmen right out the gate who's probably spending their last money and doing everything they can to go to school. That is an unnecessary obstacle. And look, I'm gonna keep 100 with you guys, because I graduated from the University of Tennessee at Martin, and you can ask India Dean, Will Riddle, L. Maxwell, anybody who went to college with me, what my daily attire was. And my everyday attire was a do-rag, a tank top, and baggy jeans. And I still graduated. I graduated. I went to class every day in a do-rag, a tank top, and baggy jeans. And I still learned. My clothes did not determine whether I understood communication theories or if I finished my assignments, right? Because I have a degree from the University of Tennessee at Martin in communications, broadcast journalism, and a minor in graphic design. Like, nothing about my attire stopped me from learning. Now, the place where professionalism belongs is when you're a senior, in your senior year, right? Before graduation, my department required a portfolio check and a mock interview. And you had to dress up, you had to look sharp. And I never forget this, man, my professor, Teresa Collier, I never forget this, man. I was doing a mock interview with her. I had to present my portfolio, and I presented my portfolio, and my graphics was on point, man, because, you know, I was a graphic design major, and all my stories is on point. And she looked at my portfolio, and she was like, yeah, this looks good. And I never forget, she said, hey, let me see your socks. And, hey, yo, she got me now, because I was rushing out the house, and I had a nice suit on, man. My suit was nice, but I had some white tube socks on. She was like, nah, buddy, that's not professional, right? But that was needed for me in my senior year to get me ready for my interview. And that lesson stuck with me because it was tied directly into me getting the job. And that's when professional development makes sense. Like, college isn't a workplace. These folks ain't going to work. And the argument for Tuskegee University was that, hey, we try and prepare them for the job market. I get that. But college is where people mature, like discover themselves and build knowledge. The job market comes next. Like, research backs up that dressing up in uniforms barely make a difference in academic performance. Like, multiple reviews have found that like little to consistent evidence that school uniforms improve academic achievement. At best, study shows like mixed to small effects on attendance and discipline, while grades and test scores generally don't improve simply because students dress differently. Like, I'm okay with dressing for success, but that should not be the focus or a requirement to go to your school. Like, that doesn't mean schools can't have standards. I'm totally with it. Like, you can't be coming there with a thong and some booty shorts on. Like, there's levels to it. I get it. Like, universities absolutely have the right to create a dress code. If you're telling me one of the requirements for me going to your college, on top of my SAT or ACT score, on top of me getting financial assistance, is, hey man, I gotta have a suit, cool. I may decide not to go there. Seriously. Especially it's 18 to 25 while I'm in school. For every class. That's kind of an unfair burden, I think. Like I said, it doesn't mean, what am I trying to say, man? Like, I get what this HBCU is trying to do, and it is that whole, hey man, you gotta be twice as better to compete, and we gotta prepare you for the real world. And I totally agree with that, man. While we trying to change the world, we gotta live in it. And it is harder for black people to get jobs, especially with this anti-DEI element, with anybody who sees a black person in anything believes it was given to them, right? See, seriously, nobody can ever identify a DEI program, but how is this gonna prepare them for that is my question, right? All right, so I don't know. If someone shows up in clothing that's like overly inappropriate and disruptive, I understand setting boundaries, but like requiring business attire while students are trying to like survive calculus, engineering, chemistry, and nursing seems to be focused on the wrong priorities. Like, I remember seeing engineering majors like go in shitty sharp. They got all their clothes on together. And by senior year, man, these folks got beards, gray hairs. They just like living across the finish line, dog, right? Because their major was that hard. And the truth of the matter is, if you have one of these STEM, AI, or investment majors, like career placement becomes easier, right? Those degrees are leading to better jobs. Are you focusing on that? Like, those are the things that would change people's lives. Like, some people would love this policy and they'll say, yo, man, teaching discipline and pride and blah, 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 all that shit makes sense. But others will see this as like respectability politics. And that's kind of what I see it is, man. It's respectability politics. You're putting the extra burden on these black kids, right? Instead of letting them find themselves in college. Like, you're putting an emphasis on their appearance and not their substance. And I'm saying this because I went to a PWI, right? I went to a predominantly white institution. And let me tell you, man, them folks wasn't out there dressing for professionalism either. They weren't, bro. I swear. It wasn't a bastion of professionalism in like the student body at the University of Tennessee at Martin. But I know graduates, white, black, and other, who have went on to do great things. Like, shout out to Jennifer Horbell. Shout out to my homie Grant that I went to school with. These folks are doing wonderful things in journalism right now, right? And I understand both viewpoints, but my opinion is teach professionalism when students are preparing to enter the workforce, like not as a barrier when they're trying to get through freshman year. At the end of the day, Tuskegee has every right to make this policy. Like, they really do. I'm not like saying they can't make this policy, but students have every right to choose another school too if they don't like it. Like that's how choice works. Like for me though, education should be judged first by like what a student learns, not what they're wearing, right? But that's the Common Knowledge Podcast. I'm gonna end it right there, man, because my first section went a little bit long. But yeah, I'm gonna start talking about this governor's race a little bit more and focus a little bit more on local politics. Leave a comment, subscribe to the podcast, all that bullshit. Yeah, y'all be safe. Peace.